Big Million, Chapter 7, Eliza's First Outing. In this chapter, it will be Eliza's first time to go out after learning how to speak as a lady. Let's start and please follow me. Eliza worked with Professor Higgins for hours every day, learning to speak the English language the way a lady would speak it. Higgins made Eliza repeat the same vowel sounds over and over again until she was exhausted, while he kept striding about the room restlessly. He asked her to repeat everything over and over again until she became extremely tired. She became exhausted. And he kept striding. That means to walk with long steps. Restlessly means unable to rest or relax. Unable to rest or relax. Stop and say it again, Higgins would say, roaring with anger. I can't. It was hard work, and Eliza often became frustrated and angry. Frustrated means disappointed. She became frustrated and angry, shouting at Professor Higgins and refusing to speak any more. The professor wasn't always kind to poor Eliza. He always treats her in a bad way. He often insulted her and upset her even more. If it hadn't been for the reassuring and gentle Colonel, Eliza would have run back into the street, which means if Colonel Pickering wasn't with her, she would run away from Higgins' house. However, one day, Professor Higgins decided that it was time to taste Eliza by introducing her to some upper class people. His mother often invited these sort of people to her home. This sort of people means this kind of people. To her home for afternoon tea and conversation. The professor decided that this afternoon Eliza would be one of his mother's guests and he set up for her house. So he decided that Eliza will be a guest from his mother's guests, okay, and he left for her house. Let's complete. He arrived early in order to tell his mother about his plan. Mrs. Higgins wasn't pleased to see him. She wasn't happy to see her son. What are you doing here, Henry? Go home at once. You know this is the day when I invite people to tea. Yes, I know, mother. This is why I have come. But you mustn't stay. I'm serious. You offend all my friends, and then they never want to visit me again. You always disturb my friends. So you have to go, please. Go. Let's see what happened. Let's see what happened. Nonsense. What's the meaning of that? Craziness. It's craziness. I know I'm not good at small talk, but people don't mind anyway. I have got a job for you. I picked up a girl. She is coming to see you. Oh, Henry, do you mean that you have fallen in love at last? No, mother. I can't be bothered with young women who hardly resemble you. This girl is just a project. She is a common flower girl. I have picked her off the street. And you invited her to my at-home day? Don't worry. I have taught her to speak properly, and I have told her only to talk about the weather and everybody's health. It will be quite safe. So, Professor Higgins told Eliza not to talk about anything except the weather and everybody's health, to be in the safe corner or in the safe side. Okay? Oh, Henry, how could you be so silly? Listen, mother, I've got a bet with Pickering that I can make this girl into a lady in 6 months. And I convince everyone that she is a duchess. Her English is almost as good as your French. So he told her that she became very good as her in French. Okay, this is it. Okay, this is satisfactory. Well, it is, and it isn't. What does it mean? Well, she pronounces all her words properly. The trouble is, you have to think not only about how a girl pronounces words, but also what words she pronounces. What? What that? Which means her English became good, but no one can control what are the words she will say. At that time, what happened? Let's see. No sooner had he finished his sentence than the maid announced that Mrs. Higgins' guests had arrived. So her guests are here now. What will happen? And what will Eliza do? We will see next chapter, inshallah. See you soon. Okay, now let's focus on the main points in chapter 7. Number 1, Eliza worked with Professor Higgins for hours every day, learning how to speak the English language. Number 2, Higgins wasn't always kind to Eliza, and she was still at his house because of the reassuring and gentle colonel. Number 3, Higgins decided to test Eliza by introducing her to some upper-class people. Number 4, Eliza would be one of his mother's guests at her house. Number 5, Higgins tried to convince his mother that Eliza's accent now is almost as good as her French. Number 6, Higgins was worried that he couldn't think what words she would pronounce. Now, let's answer some questions together. Okay, question number 1, why was Eliza exhausted? What do you think? Yes, very good. We said that Eliza was exhausted because she worked with Professor Higgins for hours every day, and he made her repeat the same vowel sounds over and over again. Question number 2. How will Professor Higgins test Eliza? Yes, he decided to introduce her to some upper-class people, and his mother often invited these sort of people to her house, and Eliza would be one of his mother's guests. Question number 3. Why did Professor Higgins visit his mother? Yes, just think. Very good. He visited her to tell her about his plan. Number 4, what did the maid tell Mrs. Higgins? Yes, she told her that Mrs. Higgins' guests had arrived.